Hey, Battle Bill here with another video as we get into some more Ultra League Go Battle League battles. So, your boy's hyped, he finally got himself an Obstagoon. I know, I'm like the last content creator to join this party and put out this video. I apologize, it took me a little while to hatch one. Either way though, I think I have a pretty solid team here for you guys to kind of showcase with Obstagoon. And what my plan was initially putting this team together was I was going to try and run Obstagoon with Cresselia and Swampert. But then I kind of realized the team's still pretty weak to Giratina Altered, and Obstagoon doesn't counter it as well because a lot of Giratina Altereds are running Dragon Breath. So what I decided to do was I took Swampert out and I actually replaced it with Gyarados, because Gyarados counters Giratina Altered better, and it can still actually beat Registeel in certain situations, and I don't want to say most, but like it has a pretty good matchup against Registeel. Not as good as Swampert's, but good enough to be worth using for that Giratina Altered matchup. So we're going to dive into these battles. I'm excited about the set because it's not like a perfect set. It goes over the strengths and weaknesses, but I did this set like a day ago, so I've done more sets with this team, and I've had some pretty consistent success with this team. So before I even jump into this, I'm going to say I do recommend this team, so hopefully you guys enjoy this video and you kind of feel the same way. You'll let me know your opinions and whatnot in the comment section. I can't wait to see them. Either way, let's get into the commentary. I'm able to Dragon Breath this Alolan Muck down. I'm waiting to see what Pokemon they're going to bring in. I kind of forgot the beginning situations because I was talking to you guys, so we're just going to wait out the switch timer and see what comes in to essentially take down my Gyarados. Ends up being a nice shiny Articuno. 1 Ice Shard's enough to take me out. I'm pretty sure I bring in Cresselia here, because if I bring in Obstagoon, the counters are neutral because Articuno, even though it's flying, is also an Ice type. But I knew that the Empoleon lead was there, and I wanted to make sure that my Obstagoon was lined up with their Empoleon. Now, I do have a question, if somebody can correct me. I probably should have checked myself. But again, I don't know everything. I'm here to showcase battles, show you guys new teams, show you guys just as much PvP stuff as I can, but I'm not going to always have all the answers, so if somebody could check me, that'd be great, and I'll definitely mention in the next video. But what I had heard was, from somebody else's video, was that if you are dealing a super effective cross chop to somebody because Obstagoon doesn't get stab on it, that's still the equivalent to like a neutral Night Slash. And when I tested it out in game, it didn't seem to be that way. So if somebody can correct me, I'm pretty sure though, even though, yes, Cross Chop's a bad move and it doesn't get stabbed, if it's super effective, you still want to go for the Cross Chop in that situation. And then in all neutral situations or where Cross Chop's resisted, you definitely want to go for the Night Slash. But that's the main reason why I'm running Obstagoon with Cross Chop still, just because of the fact that it deals super effective damage to all those Registeels you're going to see, or Empoleons that I apparently see more than one of in this set. But anyhow, if you want to bring Empoleon leads, I'm going to keep on leading Obstagoon, so please be my guest. But, what was my point and all that? Oh, I still feel like Cross Chop Night Slash is the way to go, even though I have been seeing people running Hyper Beam and then Gunk Shot for the Charmers, but Gunk Shot is such like a 1 in a million chance of like landing a very specific situation. I understand it helps it counter its like biggest counter in a Charmer, but it doesn't feel reliable enough for me to want to use and test myself. So when you see me do these battles, I'm going to definitely be running Cross Chop and Night Slash on my Obstagoon, and that's the main reasoning for it. Either way, I go for this Moonblast here. I don't get the debuff, but we're in a no-shield situation, and Cresselia is so tanky, even if this Articuno is running Hurricane, I'm pretty certain that it'll survive it. But he actually ends up going for another Icy Wind here, which he can continue to debuff me, but it's not going to make too much of a difference here because this Moonblast should either take it out. Oh, I go for the Future Sight just to guarantee that extra damage to take out the Articuno, even though I'm double debuffed. And if it didn't, I'm not going to get farmed down, and Obstagoon can come in and finish off what's left of the Articuno. Either way, win that first match pretty nicely. I'll take it. I won lead. The one thing I want to stress is whenever you put together a team, you want a team that if you win lead, you're going to win the match. Unless, of course, you give up switch advantage by mistake. Those situations do happen. But if you don't give up switch advantage, you want to make sure that your team's good enough and consistent enough to still win those matches where you're winning leads. Either way, we're going to see something pretty interesting here. Another Empoleon lead. Not complaining. Please keep bringing them. But my Obstagoon has a nice time with this. I throw 1 counter, throw 2 counters, they switch to a Charmer. My main counter for a Charmer on this team is Cresselia, because it can tank these Charms pretty well, and if I were to bring in Gyarados, the Dragon Breaths would be resisted, the Crunches would be resisted, so it would not be ideal, and even though Gyarados isn't the Dragon, those Charms do add up on Gyarados, they do hurt a lot. Either way, I land the Moonblast here, and I don't get a debuff, but it's okay. My logic here is I'm not going to shield anything they throw because I'm picking up energy pretty quickly, and I should be able to have enough health here, even with the Meteor Mash that's coming through right now, and the Charms. I should get to at least 2 more Moonblasts, and if they decide to shield, they'd have to shield both of them to essentially get switch advantage back from me. So I'm going to go for this Moonblast here. They have a decision to make. They have to decide if they think it's worth it. They do think it's worth it. They decide to shield there, but I'm going to get to another one. So either I'm going to be at a 2 shield to no shield advantage here, or I just essentially stole the shield from them because those charms really didn't like equate to what I feel that shield was worth. They decide to shield again, so they definitely want to commit to getting shield switch advantage back for me, which I'm pretty fine with, because at this point I can bring in Gyarados, and as much as everything's resisted, the Clefable's health is so low that I can farm it down. So the Clefable is going to get to another charge move. This is going to cost me a shield and like half my Gyarados' health, but I'm going to have a ton of energy for whatever ends up coming back in. So I'm kind of okay with it. It ends up being a Psychic, I shield it, and I'm just committing to the Dragon Breath farm down, which you can see is taking a while here. It's gotten me into yellow, but I have a shield, so I'm still feeling alright here, plus I have a full health Obstagoon. The Empoleon comes in, and I was so excited that I got to a Hydro Pump that I threw it when I really shouldn't have. You do not want to throw a Hydro Pump at an Empoleon that's a water type and resist the Hydro Pump. You go for the Crunch is neutral. I bring my my Obstagoon back in, get a couple of counters in, and they bring in a Giratina, so now I'm pretty comfortable in this situation, mostly because I still have my shield, they have no shields, and these Night Slashes are going to deal super effective damage to the Giratina. I'm hoping for a boost to really kind of solidify it, but what also helps is that they're running Shadow Claw, so they literally need to keep on throwing charge moves in order to hurt this Obstagoon, which I have noticed as more and more counters for Giratina have been coming into the meta, like Obstagoon. I mean, Shiftry's been popular, Alola Muck's been popular, a bunch of Dark types essentially. A lot more Giratinas running Dragon Breath now, and you've seen from me that that is a moveset I highly recommend on your Giratina, but if you want to keep on running Shadow Claw, my Obstagoon has no problem with it. Either way, they're getting to another charge move here. I have no reason to shield this. All the charge moves coming from Giratina are going to do less damage than the Hydro Cannon coming from Empoleon, so I'd rather make sure I had that shield in case I need to protect one of my Pokemon from Empoleon's Hydro Cannon. That's more of my logic on why I'm not shielding. Also because I know Obstagoon can tank the charge moves from Giratina also. I get it pretty low, and at this point I decide to swap into Gyarados because I want to Dragon Breath it down. The counters will be double resisted, so it'll take a little while, and I'd rather not get to another charge move. So that was my play there. But now Gyarados has done his job, took down the Giratina. They can Hydro Cannon me down. Obstagoon has plenty of health, and the counters are going to be super effective. They will take out the Empoleon's remaining health, and we will start the set 2-0, which is exciting. I promise though, we will go over some weaknesses, and I did win both of those leads, so like I said, I should hopefully win those matches. Alright, so let's get into match number 3, going up against Rakim OG. Rakim is a OG in the rap game. I probably just butchered the name too. I don't know why I said it like that. Rakim. I cannot believe I said it's Rakim. Don't roast me too hard in the comments. I apologize. Either way, I got Obstagoon on Charizard here, which I think is a positive matchup. You know, Charizard isn't exactly the first Pokemon you think of. Like, let me run Sims to see if this Pokemon is a good matchup or not. But I noticed how much that Night Slash does, and I'm like, you know what? I think a Blast Burn is going to do way more damage than that, and charging up Night Slash still takes a while. I decided to shield here, but I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to win this matchup out. So I go for another Night Slash. Night Slash here. And I'm hoping for a boost also. I get the shield there, and I'm like, if I get a boost, I'll stay. I don't get the boost, so I'm just like, alright, I got to get myself out of here. I'm going to try and catch a charge move. I bring in Cresselia. Excuse me. And I'm going to end up catching a Blast Burn here. It didn't really make any sense to try and catch a charge move. The Charizard's going to want to go for Blast Burn against my Cresselia either way. If I was trying to catch a Blast Burn, I should have swapped in Gyarados, since that at least would have been like resisted. But either way, they come and counter me at Shift Tree, which I don't mind because of the fact that my Cresselia was still able to get a little bit of energy on that Charizard. And then also, I'll let this Shift Tree take down my Cresselia because my Obstagoon can come in and essentially feast on this Shift Tree because the counters are going to be super effective. So that Foul Play goes through. The Snarls are not adding up to do enough damage to my Cresselia, so I'm going to be able to get to another Moonblast, but they decide to throw their charge move, which was smart on their part because I would have gotten to that Moonblast in time. But I'm fine with it because it pretty much gets rid of majority of the Shift Tree's energy, so I can go back to my Obstagoon, throw this Cross Chop, see if they're going to decide to shield it or not, and if they don't shield it, I'm just going to commit to the farm down even if they get to a charge move, because Foul Play would be resisted, Leaf Blade would be neutral, but again, Obstagoon is pretty tanky. I got to give it its credit on that. So I'm not going to shield this. I know at half health that Leaf Blade's definitely not taking out something it's neutral against. Gets me in the red though, so props to Leaf Blade. It is a strong move, and I know it definitely doesn't have enough energy to get to another one, so I just commit to the farm down, and I'm up his shields. My Obstagoon's got a bunch of energy, and if that Charizard comes in, I can throw a Night Slash at it, but they bring in Charizard right away, so I'm like, you know what? Let me go with Gyarados, and let's see what their other Pokemon is. They keep their Charizard in here, so I'm like, oh, this has got to be bad news for them, because you definitely wanted to swap. But apparently it's not that bad of news. They brought in a Snorlax, but I was cool with them leaving in their Charizard. Became free energy. I guess maybe they thought they can get to a charge move, and it ended up not working out, mostly because they kind of stuttered. You could see that their Charizard paused when I swapped in because they weren't sure what to do. But, yeah, so I was able to get to that Hydro Pump pretty easily, and that is a situation where you want to throw the Hydro Pump. When both are neutral, and they have no shields, and you can get to the Hydro Pump, which takes a while with Dragon Breath, you want to throw the Hydro Pump because it gets stab on it. So I'm going to try and commit to the Dragon Breath down. They can throw another Body Slam, but I have a shield here, so I'm pretty good with... Do I shield this? Yeah, I was like, you know what? If I don't shield it, then Obstagoon comes and finishes it off, but there's no point in that. So I'm like, let me shield this and just Dragon Breath down and take game 3. So I start off 3-0. I'm really excited about this team. Obstagoon's just fun to use. You see him literally jumping across the battlefield, which is pretty funny. And then, like, I don't know, something about the buff in Night Slash makes it fun to use. And I like that it has a diversity with Cross Chop, so it can literally, like, beat other dark types, essentially. But let's get into this 4th match. We're going up against Blast 015. Also, you might have noticed, my rank's like down a little bit, but I have gotten it back up because honestly, after I did that live set with you guys, I had 2 sets of 1 and 4s after that, which was not that fun. And overall, between those 3 sets, I dropped about 100 points. But luckily, actually, since I discovered this Obstagoon team, I've been slowly increasing my way back up. So I'm a little bit closer. I think right now, currently, I'm around the 2680 range, which is definitely respectable. I've heard that Niantic updated the way ratings are affected by like your sets and whatnot. So people on leaderboards have definitely jumped a little bit more. That number 1 spot went from like 10 to like 2860 in like 1 day. So I feel like that kind of proves that that's happened, but I haven't noticed it firsthand, so I don't really know. Either way, we'll find out as more and more time goes by and more people's. I'm great with English, as you can clearly tell. But as more and more people start to do their sets and notice how their ratings are affected. Either way, we got an Obstagoon and a Blastoise lead here, and I'm thinking to myself, you know, if I commit shields, I might be able to win this because Water Gun takes forever to get the Hydro Cannon. So I am worried about like getting hit by a Hydro Cannon, and I did kind of debate the switch there, but I obviously didn't pull the trigger in time, and I'm like, you know what, let's find out how much this ends up doing, and I might be able to commit to the counter down. So I do survive that. They actually swap, and because they swapped, just out of instinct, I was like, let me throw a charge move. And I saw in the top right corner, it was a fairy type. Still threw the Night Slash. Both moves would have been resisted. And I was like, you know what? Fine. That was just a mistake. That was a big mistake on my part, actually, and not having that energy. We'll see how that affects this match. But I do bring in Cresselia, which is essentially my charm counter. And I'm going to go for a Moonblast here. It's going to deal neutral damage, see if it gets shielded. It doesn't get shielded, so I'm cool with that. But I am down to shield, so I definitely don't want to shield a Meteor Mash or whatever the Clefable is going to throw at me, which is most likely a Meteor Mash. So I'm not shielding this. It gets me into the yellow. I'm going to just go for another Moonblast because I can't attempt to Psycho Cut down, which, I mean, we all know. Psycho Cut, it's great for energy generation. As a quick move, though, it doesn't deal a lot of damage, so it doesn't go shielded, though, so I'm okay with that. They bring in their Alolan Muck, though, and that's why it doesn't go shielded, because of the fact that they actually just barely beat me to their next charge move. We see MP Tide, which had me very upset, and I was debating if I wanted to be down 2 shields and no shields, and I knew that Moonblast would deal neutral damage, and I could have technically gotten the debuff, but I was like, you know what, I really don't want to be down 2 shields and no shields. I bring in Obstagoon, and then they swap, mostly because I know they can't snarl me down, which is why I brought it in. And then they brought in Blastoise, so I swapped the Gyarados, and then the Alolan Muck is back. It's not like the counters would have been super effective, but they would have pretty much, even though my Obstagoon was super low, would have needed to get all the way to another Dark Pulse just to take out my Obstagoon. And I guess they didn't want all that counter damage or the cross chop damage to go through. So I'm assuming that was what their logic was. And it was a smart move to make there. I'm charging up, going all the way to a Hydro Pump, because I want to at least, like, threaten the shield. But even a Crunch will threaten the shield because of the fact that the Alolan Muck is super low. So I definitely don't want to go for a Hydro Pump in the situation, because if it gets shielded, I'd be screwed energy-wise. And they really don't have a lot of health, so the crunch will get them low enough so that Gyarados can Dragon Breath the Alolan Muck down. So we're going to see here if they decide to shield. They do decide to shield, and I'm fine with that. I don't know what their other Pokemon is, but I'm going to go for another crunch here, essentially hoping for the same thing. I'll take a shield if they give it. If they don't give a shield, that's fine with me. They give both their shields, but at the other issue is my Obstagoon is practically dead, and so is my Gyarados. And watch what we're going to notice here. So I get off this Cross Chop, and it doesn't take out the Muck, but if I didn't waste that energy, if I didn't waste that Night Slash on the Charmer, I would have had 2 Cross Chops there, and the second Cross Chop would have taken out the Alolan Muck. So my Gyarados coming back in, it's going to get Dark Pulse, and that was also part of the reason why I swapped the Obstagoon. I was trying to catch the Dark Pulse on the Obstagoon, because it had super low health, and I wanted to then commit to the Dragon Breath down the Alolan Muck. Wasn't able to pull it off, but the big mistake was when they swapped in, I instinct tapped in the Night Slash, and that cost me that match. So I technically could be 4-0 if I didn't make that mistake. Having that extra energy definitely would have came in handy, but it happens. Gotta just be careful while you're playing matches and somebody swaps in quick on you. Alright, getting into this 5th match of the set, we got an Obstagoon on another Obstagoon lead here. And this kind of is moveset dependent. Whoever has a Cross Chop is essentially going to win. I mean, I guess you can commit 2 shields and then go for the counter down and hope, and you might tie. But essentially, I get to my Cross Chop first, so I'm thinking to myself, maybe I have CMP, maybe I can win out this matchup. So I throw it, they decide to shield, and we did CMP tie, and I happened to win CMP there. And I decide to shield here, and they do something interesting, which is they go for the Night Slash. I guess they assume that because they shielded, I was gonna shield. So they're like, you know what? Let's try and go for the Night Slash buff. That could have royally bit them, because if I was like, you know, let me let my Obstagoon go down, that would have been resisted, and then I would have been in a much better situation here. But either way, they go for another charge move. I decided to commit 2 shields in this situation, but I do go for the swap because my Obstagoon does have health, and I'm trying to catch them lacking and Dragon Breath down. And they actually commit to bringing in a Registeel here, which I found interesting, just because, I mean, I was down a shield, and it's a really close matchup between Gyarados and Registeel, but Gyarados, again, depending on the situation, can beat out a Registeel. But I guess them having the 1 shield advantage, even though I have a little bit of energy, they still end up technically winning this one out. If I had a shield, though, then this would be a positive situation for me. So they're going for their charge move here. Ends up being a Flash Cannon, and I see how much damage it does, and it's resisted. And then I'm like, you know, Focus Blast is also resisted, but Gyarados is not exactly the tankiest, so even though both of those are resisted, they still do hurt a bunch. And I come to learn later on that a Focus Blast from Registeel, I mean, is a stronger move. Does a good chunk more, though, than what Flash Cannon does, even though both are resisted. And Registeel gets stab on Flash Cannon. But I think, is this the match where I learned this? Let's see. Yeah, it ends up being a Focus Blast. And look at how much more damage that did. That seemed to do way more than, like, the energy difference between the 2 moves is. Does that make sense mathematically? I didn't really explain that too well, I apologize. But either way, I am able to get to another crunch here, so I'm going to go for this. This will either get the shield or get the Registeel out completely. It gets the Registeel out, which looks positive, but they still have a 1 shield advantage on me, and they bring in their Obstagoon and they commit to the counter down. So what I'm worried about is they did enough counters to get themselves to another Cross Chop, even though I dipped when they had 0 energy. I should have known. That was my big mistake in this match. So honestly, I just make mistakes here. They threw maybe like 3 counters, which would not have been enough for another Cross Chop. I would have been able to commit to the counter down, and their last Pokemon Swampert. So if I would have committed to the counter down, I would have been able to throw a Night Slash at their Swampert, potentially get their last shield, if not do a solid amount of damage to them. And this 3-2 set, really, actually I guess we didn't go too much through the weaknesses. These 2 losses were more of like mistakes on my part. Oh, and also I figured out another reason why to throw the Earthquake right away from your Swampert on Cresselia. Mostly because of the fact that I'm going to go for a Moonblast as a Cresselia. And if I get that debuff, you want to throw as much damage as you can before you possibly get debuffed. So even though Earthquake's not the most as energy efficient as Hydro Cannon is, in this kind of situation where I'm most likely not going to shield, or I don't have any shields like I didn't have here, as a Swampert, you do want to go for like the Earthquake at first. So as I played more and more matches, I realized that. But hey, that's how a lot of us learn. That's how I learned for sure. I learned by just playing over and over and seeing a bunch of situations pan out. So I get that Moonblast there. I do get the attack debuff, which is nice, but it's a little late. I'm still in debuffed Hydro Cannon range. So they're going to go for their charge move here. This is an Earthquake, and I'm definitely in debuffed Earthquake range, and that definitely takes me out. And now I'm committing to these counters. I get them pretty low. We CMP tie, and I think at that health, a Night Slash would have taken them out. which meant that if I would have farmed up energy instead of throwing my cross chop at that Obstagoon, a Night Slash at their Swampert would have won me the match there. So, a couple mistakes on my part. Still feeling really good about the team. Still a successful 3-2 set. Definitely certain things to learn from to make sure I don't do them again to improve the sets going forward. Let me know what you think of my Obstagoon team. Let me know if you think you have a better Obstagoon team or if you've seen a better Obstagoon team. Obstagoon team. Because, you know, Obstagoon ends in an N, team ends in an M. Gotta enunciate, not Obstagoon teen. He's not a teenager. Anyhow, I'm so off topic. Let me know what you think of the team. Let me know if you think you could improve the team. I would definitely love to hear it and try it out. Don't forget, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.